You are not afraid of being alone. You are afraid of who is waiting there. Rilke wrote that truth to a lonely soldier in 1903. Tonight, walk with me past midnight. It is 1 a.m. again. You could not sleep, so you went outside. You pull your coat tight and start walking. Your breath shows white under the street lamps. The street is empty, wet, and quietly yours. A single car hushes past and is gone. The whole city has finally stopped performing. You tell yourself you just needed the air. That is true, but it is not the reason. You came out here to escape a room, not the apartment behind you. Another room entirely. The small dark room that sits behind your eyes. You have been carrying that room all day. There is an old name for what you feel. Most people call it loneliness and leave it there. But loneliness and solitude are not the same thing. From the outside, they look completely identical. Same empty street. Same single set of footsteps. The whole difference is who walks beside you. And tonight, the only one here is you. Picture 2 people awake at this same hour. One sits in a silent apartment and aches. Their phone holds 300 names, all asleep. Each name is a door that will not open. The quiet presses down on them like water. This is loneliness, alone, and wishing you were not. Now picture the second person in the same silence. But to them, the quiet feels like open sky. No one is missing from the room at all. The whole evening belongs to them, uninterrupted. This is solitude, alone, and quietly, completely enough. Same walls, same hour, same absence of any voice. One hears an accusation, the other hears rest. For one, it is a wound. For one, a gift. Nothing outside either of them has changed. What differs is the company they keep with themselves. Loneliness whispers that something is wrong with you. Solitude simply lets you hear yourself think. The room is the same. The tenant is different. In 1903, a young cadet wrote a desperate letter. His name was Franz Capus, 19 years old. He was lonely inside a cold military academy. He sent his poems to a poet he admired. That poet was Rainer Maria Rilke, barely older. Rilke was himself alone in a grey Paris. He was broke, homesick, assisting the sculptor Rodin. He had walked those Paris streets alone for months. He learned that no crowd could cure that ache, so he did not tell the boy to find friends. He told him to go deeper into his solitude. Love your solitude, Rilke wrote to him. Bear the pain of it like a rich burden. He told Capus to be patient toward the unsolved. What we call loneliness, he said, is unpracticed solitude. It is the same aloneness, simply not yet befriended. The young soldier had never learned to sit alone, so his silence felt like a sentence, not a home. Consider what the midnight walker is truly fleeing. It is not the street or the empty flat. When every distraction finally falls away, someone remains. It is you, with nothing left to perform. No colleagues, no messages, no role left to play. Only the person you postponed all day long. For many of us, that person feels like a stranger. We spend our years managing how others see us. We rarely sit still long enough to meet ourselves. We answer emails to avoid answering ourselves. We keep busy so the stranger stays hidden. But at midnight, the busyness finally runs out. In 1654, Blaise Pascal wrote one blunt line: all our troubles come from a single inability. We cannot sit quietly alone in a room. 3 centuries later, his sentence still finds us. So being alone can feel like being trapped. Trapped in a room with someone we barely trust. That is why the phone glows at 1 a.m. That is why the screen burns on until dawn. We are not truly hungry for other company. We are avoiding a long-delayed introduction. Solitude, faced on purpose, slowly stops being frightening. And the walk is where that meeting almost happens. Hermann Hesse once wrote a novel about this walk. Its hero, Siddhartha, abandons every teacher he meets. He even turns away from the Buddha himself. He decides that no one can hand him wisdom. He must find it alone, beside a wide river. Siddhartha had been a prince, a monk, a merchant. Every role had been a way to avoid himself. He had to lose every name to find one. For years, he simply sits and learns to listen. At first, the solitude terrifies and nearly unmakes him. He has never before been no one to anyone, but slowly the river teaches him how to stay. He stops fleeing the quiet and steps into it. Only then does his aloneness soften into peace. The same water that frightened him becomes his home. There is a reason this happens after midnight. Daylight is crowded with duties and other faces. The dark strips all of that cleanly away. So the walk becomes a small, honest test. Are you fleeing yourself out here, or finding yourself? The explorer Erling Kagge once faced that test. He walked to the South Pole entirely alone. 50 days across the ice, his radio dead. No voices, no news, no one at all to call. The ice gave him nothing to perform for. There was no one left to impress out there. He expected the silence to feel like a prison. Instead, it became the richest company he had known. He had feared the empty white horizon for years. It turned out to be the fullest place he knew. Silence, he later wrote, is not empty at all. It is a place you can finally walk into. Kagge found a whole world waiting inside the quiet. Most of us never walk far enough to reach it. We turn back the moment the silence speaks. The cure for loneliness is not always more people. Often it is learning to bear your own company. A crowded life can stay bitterly lonely for years. You can be surrounded and still feel unmet. Think of the loneliest night you can remember. You were likely surrounded by people who loved you. The distance was inside you, not in the room. Loneliness is not counted by how many people call. It is measured by how you feel when none do. More parties will not close that inner distance. Only meeting yourself, at last, ever does. No one else can walk that last mile for you. Rilke saw this more clearly than almost anyone. Solitude, he said, is not something you choose. You are already alone, more than you dare admit. The only real question is what you do there. Do you drown it in noise and passing strangers? Or do you turn, at last, and sit down? Franz Kafka kept those letters his whole life. He published them years after Rilke had died. He had learned to walk his own road alone. The lonely cadet had grown into a quiet man. So the empty street is not your enemy tonight. It never was. It was only ever a mirror. The fear was never really about the silence. The loneliness you feared was solitude never yet learned. And solitude is loneliness that made peace with itself. Both people walked the same dark, quiet street. Only one of them was ever truly alone. Ahead of you, the streetlights fade toward grey morning. Your single set of footsteps keeps its patient time. You are not waiting for anyone to appear. And for the first time, you do not need them. The one walking beside you was always going to be you. And for once, that turns out to be enough. The street was never empty. You had simply arrived. Good night.